What is up, YouTube? I'm Godite74 here, bringing you our Week 6 game of the ABC. This week, we take on Shea Quaza, coach of the Dallas Starmies. We are going into this game with a 3-2 record, while he is going into this game with a 5-0 record. Now, before we get into this video, we should be 1-2 because we did pick up 2 forfeit wins in a row, as you guys could tell on the channel the past 2 weeks. I have not uploaded a battle, but you guys saw a timestamp, thus you know there is going to be a battle this week. Before we get into the video, make sure to go check out my opponent as well as all of the ABC coaches in the description below. My opponent Shea has got some really good quality content, so I highly recommend you go check him out this week. But Shea, to reiterate, is 5-0, so he has been playing really well. There has been a little bit of a luck factor in there, not going to lie, but he's still been playing well regardless. And he's got a really scary team to add on top of it. I do apologize, I am a bit rusty. I was a bit rusty going into this game because I had not really played a full-on draft game for like 2 weeks, but we're not making excuses out here. It's just something I want to throw out there. But regarding the matchup we have this week, I personally do not think it's that great for us because he's got a few mons that kind of just destroy my team, and they could easily just destroy my team with the way that he plays his mons. I do have a mon that does do really good against his team as well, and I'm going to try and take full advantage of that as throughout the battle, but overall, I still think he's got the better matchup in this case. And right before I get into his team and my team and all that stuff, I want to let you guys know I did take off a few small things on the team builder because there's a good chance, not a good chance, but there's a chance I could face Shea in playoffs. Because let's be real, Shea's making playoffs. I might make them if I win another game or two. So I don't want to reveal everything that I didn't have to reveal. So just want to throw it out there. If there's something's missing on the slides, that is the reason why. But that's all for that. I'm going to go over his team now. His team is very scary. His team consists of Magearna, Zygarde 50, Zeraora, Greninja, Hitmonlee, Gligar, Mega Banette, Smeargle, Vileplume, Rapidash, Frogadier, and Froakie. And his Z crystals, I believe, are the Groundium Z and the Fightinium Z. But Magearna cannot use Z moves, so let's keep that in mind. Now, what I expect him to bring consists of Magearna, Zygarde, Zeraora, Greninja, Gligar, and Mega Banette. Smeargle or Vileplume could come, but those are kind of just niche mons possibly. But I'm pretty set on these 6 that he's going to bring. Magearna comes in and clicks 6 buttons and destroys me. That's how this game's going to go, to be honest. Zeraora is also very scary if I don't handle it accordingly, as well as Greninja. Greninja's a bit scary for me, saying that Greninja's not that really good of a mon. I think, well, not good. It's overhyped. That's what I should say. It's still a decent mon. But Greninja actually does a really good work against my team, so that's something I really like to watch out for. And his other 3 mons, being Zygarde, Gligar, and Mega Banette, can be definitely really annoying for my team, as handling them, especially Mega Banette. Mega Banette is kind of underrated. It is just so hard to just kind of switch in to deal with because it's got that prankster ability, and it's just, you don't want stuff getting status on your team, and that's something I'm really concerned of. And Destiny Bond as well, that's also something Mega Banette's really good with. So I might have to trade a mon for Mega Banette, and that's something I don't want to do, but it's going to be something I might have to do. But luckily, I am bringing Mega Charizard X this week, and it does really good work against this team because it does beat Magearna down. It beats Zygarde down if it's not boosted, and if I'm boosted, I can beat almost everything else on his team. And that's going to be kind of the goal for this week. I have to get rid of Gligar because Gligar is a decent switch into Charizard, but if I can get rid of it, I can do that. And I have a way of getting rid of Gligar, as I will break down in my team builder. But that is sort of the rundown of his team. The team I am bringing this week consists of Mega Charizard X, Rotom Wash, Mudsdale, Dhelmise, Cryogonal, and Swellow. So as I just mentioned, the first one I am bringing this week is Mega Charizard X. Mega Charizard X is rocking the max attack with 232 speed with a Jolly Nature and the rest in HP. Moves being Dragon Dance, Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw, Roost. It's a pretty standard Charizard, but it actually works really well against this team because his Fire and plus Dragon switch-in does not really exist. Gligar is easily the best switch-in on his team to this thing, but outside of Gligar, he just doesn't switch into this thing. It's just impossible. And if I can get a Dragon Dance up, I can easily sweep his team. One thing I gotta be careful about is Mega Banette because, you know, Prankster T-Wave or just Prankster D-Bond, that is very scary. If I'm chipped down enough, Water Shuriken from Greninja is a little bit scary as well. And then Zygarde if it's boosted. So those are the main things I really have to look out for with Mega Charizard X. But a lot of times I don't even have to boost, and I can still knock down his team really hard. I OHKO a lot of things on his team, or at least do over three-quarters of things health. I can't even talk. But Mega Charizard X is going to do a lot of work in this game. I already see it happening. And if I can just set up with a DD, it makes my life a whole lot easier. And it's my best way to deal with Magearna, because outside of this thing, my team really struggles with Magearna. But luckily, this Charizard beats it down pretty hard. So hopefully that's kind of the route I'm going with this game. And if you see these nicknames, by the way, my opponent, Shea, his showdown name is Powerful Paramore. And Paramore was probably my first ever band I actually really listened to a lot in middle school. And I really like Paramore myself, so I made the nicknames based on Paramore's songs, and I was hoping he would catch on to it in the battle, but that's why the nicknames are different this week. But that is the Mega Charizard X. It's going to do a lot of work this game. And we're going to move on to our second mon, which is Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash, I have nothing on screen because I did not get to show this Rotom Wash too much, despite I think Rotom Wash had a really good matchup this game, but I didn't get to show off as much as I would like to, so I'm going to hide this set. This is the only set I'm going to hide fully, because if I face Shay again, I could definitely see myself bringing a very similar set to what I did bring, so I'm going to keep this hidden, but just know I brought Rotom Wash, obviously. We're going to move on to our third mon, which is Mudsdale. Mudsdale, I'm not going to show the spread, except for that it's got max HP, let's be real. I didn't bother hiding that. With the moves Stealth Rock, Earthquake, and Roar, I do have a fourth move on there, and since Mudsdale can definitely run a lot of different moves for that fourth slot, I can run Toxic, I can run like Close Combat, Iron Head, Rock Slide, a bunch of different things. I decided to keep it in the back, just in case, because it was a really nice, it was there for a reason, and I didn't get to use it, so I could definitely see myself bringing it again. But Mudsdale is a really, really good switch into stuff like Zygarde, Magearna if it's not boosted, but if it's boosted then it's going to be a problem. And it also switches into Mega Banette to an extent, though I don't really want to be consistently chipped throughout the battle because I need this thing to switch into a lot of his higher teals. As well as Zeraora, though Zeraora getting Grass Knot is kind of a problem since I'm not Rinnoberry on the set, I'm Leftovers. So it's going to be a little bit harder switching into Zeraora. But Mudsdale is like kind of like a backup switch into Zeraora because I do have the Delmise over there, as I'll get into in a second, is my main switch into Zeraora. But Mudsdale is mainly here for Zygarde and as well as Magearna, and can get the rocks up. And a few other minor things as well. Like, I guess I can switch into Rapidash and take a hit pretty quite fine, even though I don't really see Rapidash coming. It just sucks because Greninja, Frogadier, and Froakie are just kind of all present right there. Even Froakie, I said, Mudsdale doesn't really enjoy their presence. But that is the Mudsdale set. Next up we have Delmise. Delmise is rocking the Colbur Berry with Anchor Shot, Earthquake, Rapid Spin, and Synthesis, and max HP, 144 defense with an Impish Nature, 108 Spit Def. I decided to show off the spread because Delmise puts in some work. I love Anchor Shot, it's very underrated, and it is my main switch into Zeraora and Hitmonlee. Since I have the Colbur Berry, Hitmonlee's not going to be doing too much to me, and Hitmonlee has kind of trash defenses, to be honest, so unless he brings like the Bulk Up White Herb set, I'm going to be willing to Hitmonlee for days, and even then, I'm still going to just be fine against it. It's a good way to deal with Smeargle if Smeargle does end up coming, because I can Anchor Shot it turn 1. If Smeargle comes, I'm leading with this thing 100%. I can Anchor Shot it, and it can't Spore me because I'm a Grass type, and then I could Anchor Shot and then Rapid Spin for the kill, because Smeargle is very fragile. And again, it's also switching to Zeraora, though I have to be careful of like a banded knockoff or something like that. That's something that's going to be a little bit scary for this Delmise, since I'm not like max or anything. I do have the Earthquake, though, so that's something to keep in mind as well. It does suck because my Grass type being in Delmise, I can't really take on Zygarde, which is really unfortunate, but since we have already a Mudsdale for that job, so I'm not too worried about it. But that is the Delmise. We're going to move on to our fifth mon, which is going to be the Cryogonal. Cryogonal is rocking the Ice Beam, Freeze Dry, in Power Ground, and Haze with the Choice Scarf, max special attack, 240 speed with a Timid Nature, and 16 in HP. This is to like stop a Greninja that isn't Scarf, or maybe it's like Specs, because I can tank a Water Shuriken quite easily, unless it's like 5 hits. That's kind of annoying. But Cryogonal is here to make sure things don't get out of control. If Zygarde's at +1, I can still outspeed it and just knock it out. Magearna, if it's chipped down enough, I do need a lot of chip for this Cryogonal in order to beat down the Magearna, because HP Ground only does like 30% to, I think, like a max HP version, if not less. I think it's less, actually. It's like 20%. I don't know. It doesn't do much. But it also beats Gligar, because Gligar is annoying for the Charizard, and if I can beat down the Gligar, that's always nice. It does good work against Zeraora. I can outspeed Zeraora. Ice Beam does around half to it, so that's kind of nice. I need to chip that down enough. Vileplume's there, Frogadier, Froakie, I beat those two with Freeze Dry. Basically, Cryogonal's got a lot of good work. I just gotta be careful because it just kind of gives Magearna a free switching, and that is something I do not want to happen. But if I can chip down the Magearna, maybe I'll have a little bit easier time with it. But that is Cryogonal. I'm talking very fast, but we're going to move on to our final mon, and that's going to be Swellow. Swellow is rocking the Flame Orb with max attack at 232 speed with a Jolly Nature to outspeed non-Scarf Greninja, 24 HP. Moves being Facade, Brave Bird, U-Turn, Protect. Protect is to scout out for the Water Shuriken, or if something's like locked into a move, I can scout what move it is if it's Scarf. But this blows back through his team. I had Boom Burst originally, but I kind of went the Facade route because it did a little more damage overall to his team, and I still have Brave Bird for Mega Banette if it comes. So that's going to be something nice, and that this can be used to kind of whittle down Gligar. I'm not really expecting Swellow to beat Gligar, but if I can chip Gligar enough, Charizard can possibly sweep after Gligar's chipped enough. And that was kind of the goal. Swellow is here to kind of break down the Gligar to the point where Charizard can beat it. And that was the main objective I had with this team as well. The Swallow just does so much work against this team as well. If Greninja's not Scarf, which I'm not expecting it to be, though it does probably going to have Water Shuriken, and that's something I'd be careful about, because Swallow's special defense is high-key trash. And if I get this Swallow chipped down enough, which is probably going to be chipped throughout the battle because of Flame Orb and if he gets rocks up, so that is something I got to be a little bit careful about, because if Swallow goes down, then my answers to the Greninja sort of get limited, but we're going to deal with that when we get there. And that is going to be the team we made. I pretty much showed off everything, but that is kind of what we were rocking out with this game this week. We're going to move over to the Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here in Pokemon Showdown, and I'm noticing he did not bring Zeraora or Mega Banette, but he did bring the Hitmonlee and the Smeargle. So I am 100% leading off with my Delmise. He did bring his backup Showdown account as opposed to the powerful Paramore one, so it's not going to make as much sense, but oh well. To reiterate, we are going to lead Delmise because I cannot get supported by the Smeargle, as I'm going to fire off an Anchor Shot, as he shows Lovely Kiss, and luckily he misses that, because that would have really sucked. As we can whittle this thing down, knowing he's faster, I'm going to let my Rotom take the hit, because I don't want my Rotom, I'd rather have my Rotom asleep as opposed to Delmise. Now, Rotom's good in this game to an extent, but I feel like Delmise is a little bit better in this type of scenario. But he does Parting Shot out, which really sucks because it kind of catches me off guard. I can't kill a Smeargle right away. But luckily he goes into Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee is not a problem whatsoever. I can just whittle this thing down. And I click Anchor Shot here, and this thing gets absolutely demolished. This thing is gone. It was a crit. It mattered in some sense, but in other sense I could have just synthesized the health off and he can't switch up. So I would have killed him eventually. It sped up the process a bit. But Greninja comes in, I switch out on Rotom, and I learned this thing as a Life Orb, and this thing does way too much damage. He switches out into Zygarde, probably fearing like if I'm like a Scarf Rotom, if I wake up that turn, but I'm asleep at this turn. I've left over, so I don't know why actually. But anyway, I'm going to go into Mudsdale because Mudsdale can deal with it, and he pulls a great prediction and goes for Toxic on a sleeping Rotom, but it worked out in his favor because Mudsdale came in. Now he's going to go to the Gligar. I did not click Earthquake. I just wanted to get him up, the rocks up, because if this thing has Defog, he's going to be forced to show it at some point. As I'm going to switch out into Swallow, expecting the rocks of his own, if not a Defog. And plus, I don't think this Gligar is going to have like Rock Slide or anything. So I get my Flame Orb activated. I'm just going to click U-turn, expecting him to switch, but he does not switch. He stays in, or not, because I could still be a Boomber set, but I'm burned, so that doesn't make sense. I'm not making sense. I don't know. But he clicks U-turn, so he shows he's got U-turn. And Stealth Rock. So I'm assuming those last two moves are Earthquake and Roost. As I go into Rotom, I'm just going to sack this thing off to the Greninja. This Greninja is going to take a little more chip from the rocks and its own Life Orb damage, so that's pretty nice. But Rotom is down, so my switching into Greninja almost kind of doesn't exist at this point. So I had to go into Swallow. I had to deal with this thing more offensively than anything, as I can still live a Water Shuriken. He sacks his Smeargle, which is a really smart play. Smeargle wasn't really doing too much anymore. And he goes into the Magearna, I think, this turn? Yeah, he goes into Magearna, and this is really scary. So I have to U-turn out of here, and I'm going to go right into Mudsdale, because Mudsdale is my switch into this thing, as I can take any hit from it. And I take the Rocks Chip, and he goes for the Flash Cannon, and it does 26%. This shows me that he's not like the most offensive Magearna. He's probably got some investment, but it's not. I don't think he's got max special attack, so that's good to know. I'm going to click... I actually forget what I click here, to be completely honest. I double out on the Delmise, that's what it was. Because I know Delmise can probably beat this Gligar down, but Gligar has Toxic, and that really threw me off guard. So this Gligar actually does not have Roost on it, and that kind of shook, unless he doesn't have Earthquake, but let's be real, this Gligar has Earthquake as he shows it right there. He gets a crit, doesn't matter, it's a crit. But it's really annoying. I can spin these rocks away, and at this point, knowing this Gligar cannot recover, I could go into Charizard here, and I should have gone into Charizard looking back at it, but I go into Swallow, because Swallow is still pretty decent to chip this thing down. I didn't want to tank an Earthquake or a Toxic from the Charizard and him do all the switch game nonsense. So I do a nice clean 41% to this Gligar. So this thing definitely is in range of Charizard now as he U-turns out into his Greninja. And this is screaming Water Shuriken right here, because now I'm in range of Water Shuriken. I am going to protect to make sure he's not bluffing it, because he could be bluffing it, but he's not. He fires off the Water Shuriken there. And at this point, I could go into Cryogonal and take the rocks and the Shuriken, but I really don't want to do that, so I'm just going to sack off the Swallow here. This Greninja is becoming more of a threat, but it is also under half now, and I can still deal with this with my Scarf Cryogonal. I do a Freeze Dry, as I believe I do fire off the Freeze Dry here. He makes another smart sack as he goes into Gligar, knowing that Gligar isn't too useful anymore, as Gligar is going to go down. It is a 4-3 game in my favor, but he still has a full health Zygarde and Magearna, and this Magearna is looking very threatening. I had to go back in the Mudsdale as my still good switch into Magearna despite being at 49%. Luckily, he goes for Volt Switch, so I got a completely free switch into this thing, and that's really lit. And now I can fire off a free Earthquake. Greninja's not going to come in, so I believe Zygarde's probably going to come in, which it ends up doing. It takes a little bit of Rock Chip damage, and I'm going to do Earthquake damage to it. It's going to do a solid 36%, as I'm going to start racking up toxic damage on myself. This Zygarde does not reveal to have leftovers, so that is something a little bit concerning, as he's going to step a Dragon Dance. I do predict that and go for Roar, and it roars him into the Magearna, and that's a pretty good case for me. But I am starting to get reeled down a lot. I am going to be at 31%. And if this thing doesn't have Ice Beam, he cannot knock me out. But he does, and I go down. He could have Floor Cannon too. That would have knocked me out. But here's the moment of truth. I have to go out on the Charizard at this point because it's my only way of beating this thing. And I thought about this turn for a really long time. I thought about Dragon Dancing, but I just couldn't do it. As he's going to go into Zygarde, and I'm going to Roost up this turn to live any hit. Because I could live any hit from the Magearna unless it is Floor Cannon. But I would have lost the game regardless. And if I would have went for Dragon Dance here, you're going to see here, this Zygarde is Habanberry. And that is really big because he gets a free 1,000 arrows off. And that does way too much damage. And at this point, I'm going to die to E-Speed. And at this point, the game's over because I cannot beat that Magearna. That really sucks. If I did DD, he would have to rely on E-Speed into Water Shuriken. That would have been the only way that Charizard would have lost that game at this point. But because he had the really good prep in Habanberry, he was able to live the hit, and he didn't even have to worry about all that situation. As here, I'm going to heal up with Synthesis and tank the 1,000 arrows and knock this thing out with Earthquake. I tried to get as much health as I possibly could, but in the end, I don't think it was even a net gain, as I gained like 6%, I think. So, whatever. He's going to go to Greninja. I don't really want to switch into Cryogonal at this point, but so Dhelmise is going to go down. Looking back at it, maybe switching into Cryogonal there wouldn't have been a terrible play, but with Rocks up, Dark Pulse into Water Shuriken probably would have done a little too much, so I could see why I did that. He goes for Water Shuriken just to get as much chip as I possibly can. I go for the Hidden Power Ground. It's the move I have to lock myself into, and at this point, I have to hope I get a Super Ultra Mega Crit on this Magearna in order to win this game, because this Magearna is at almost max HP. And I click HP Ground, it does 19%. The game's over. He's going to click Flash Cannon and claim his 6th win of the season. So we are going to lose to Shay 1-0. GG to Shay. I definitely don't think I played that bad during this game. In fact, I think I did play pretty well overall in this game, but I think Shay's prep was just absolutely fantastic, and he knew what his win cons were in regards to the Magearna and the Life Orb Greninja, and I think he utilized those two mods very well and used them very effectively, saving Magearna for late game and using Greninja to consistently come in revenge mods. I think that was just really good play. The way he played was just really good. So, again, GG to Shay. Please go to make sure to check out his link in the description below. This is probably the most I'm looking forward to seeing someone else's perspective this season. So, please go make sure to check him out. We're going to move down to a 3-3 record. That puts us in, like, 5th place, I think. Like, dead center. I'm not completely sure. But hopefully we can try and move up a bit more before playoffs come around, because I still want to make playoffs. Nothing's guaranteed yet. So, hopefully we can win next week. Speaking of next week, we take on Devious Ditto, one of the mods in ABC. He's got a Ditto, which I hate going up against, and he's got a Landorus Eye with Sheer Force. So that is also something very scary to note. But that is next week's battle. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.